Okay, so once again, good morning everyone. So this time, a while ago, I mentioned about the topic of IoT with regard to cybersecurity, IoT security and so on. So of course, we need to accept the fact that cybersecurity means protecting data, networks, programs, and other information from unauthorized or unattended access, distraction, or change. In today's world, cybersecurity is very important because of some security threats and cyber attacks. Now, for data protection, many companies develop software. So this software protects the data. Now, cybersecurity is important because not only it helps to secure information, but also our system from virus attacks. Okay? So to give us more details about the topic, let us all welcome our presenter. Go ahead, sir.
Good morning, guys. Manuel Laksamana. My topic for today is cybersecurity. I will not go into too much depth because ang topic kasi ng cybersecurity is very broad. So let's just touch on a few things and let's just be aware what is cybersecurity and why is it important to us. So, okay. What is cybersecurity? This is basically the practice of defending computer servers, computer systems, and mobile devices, or anything that is basically electronic and connected to the internet from malicious attacks. So what do you mean by malicious attack? This is our cyber attacks that can be done by other people or hackers. All right, so here are some forms of cybersecurity. First up is network security. So network security is basically securing the network connections of your devices or your in an organization, the servers, the computers, and network devices, the routers, the switches, from cyber attacks, from unauthorized access to gain access to your databases, to your files, or to your data, basically. The other one is application security. This focuses on the applications that we deploy. If you're if you're an organization, the applications that you deploy to your users. So mainly ito yung yung mga operating systems ng nasa laptops ng mga employees natin or ng mga users natin. So we have to make sure that yung mga either operating systems or applications na gagamitin ng ating mga users ay secured and basically na-test na natin as system implementers and system administrators to make sure that the data that we as system admins or as end users basically is secure and hindi siya ma-access ng kahit sino. Okay. The next one is information security. Mostly for information security, ang pinaka may concern dito ay yung mga what you call this, organizations or companies that handles customers data, sensitive data, yung mga financial data, mga date of birth, names, addresses, those things. So they need to protect those information from unauthorized access, at dapat yung mga private data ng mga users natin is on a need to know basis lang. Kapag ikaw yung part ng organization, you need to have a certain level of authorized access in order for you to basically view the data. You can only dapat nililimit yung mga view natin. Kunyari, let's say for example in the BPO, yung tech support, they can only view certain data, not all of a client's data. So that's for information security. Next would be operational security. Operational security, this is basically the process and the decision handling for protecting data assets. Like I said earlier, example natin yung BPO. If your level 1s, level 1 supports, they can only access up to a certain amount of private information of their clients. Yung certain informations na yan is yung bare minimum that they need to basically do their jobs. Okay, so yun yung binibigay na trust level ng mga clients dun sa mga organizations or companies. The other one is end user education. End user education basically means na i-educate natin yung mga part ng organization natin to be aware of what is cybersecurity and what is cyber attacks. Kasi let's say for system designers, we can design our systems to be secure, to be almost impregnable but never perfect. But ano tawag dito, yung unknown factor natin sa cybersecurity is yung end users natin mismo, yung gagamit ng ating system. Kasi lagi sila yung magiging always first point of contact sa mga hackers. Okay, and the last would be disaster recovery and business continuity. So this is basically the process. Once a data breach happens, ano yung magiging guidelines ng organization to recover from those types of data breaches. So yun yung mga guidelines. So basically these are some but not all of the cybersecurity practices that can be done by us individuals and as an organization. So why is cybersecurity important? In today's modern age, we can say that almost everything is connected via the internet, like the previous topic, Internet of Things. From how we watch our favorite shows to how we get our food to our table. So basically, everything is via internet. So finances, livelihood can also be done online, like online selling or managing your business abroad, those things. So as more of our lives become reliant on technology and the internet, we expose our lives more to cyber attacks or threats, which is why we need to know cybersecurity. This is why it is important for our lives. So basically, cyber attacks is an assault launched by cyber criminals, either using one or more computers. Basically, it's either an individual or a group to basically attack a single computer or multiple computers within a company. To basically, their main goal is either to disable the company's ability to function or organization to function, such as governments, or to steal data from these organizations. Or basically, if you're just an individual that falls victim to cyber attacks, they just want to steal your data, either to gain your financial details or to steal your identity, to use it for their own personal gains. So these are some of the types of cybersecurity threats. These are not basically all, but these are one of the most common. So first up, we have malware. I believe everyone is aware of what is a malware. Basically, these are softwares that are intended for malicious use. To give example, these are spywares, ransomwares, viruses, and worms. So basically, they are one of the arsenals of our cyber criminals to be used to either an organization or to an individual to get into your system and steal data. Okay. Next up would be phishing. This is one of the most very common and one of the most easiest way for cyber criminals to get into your system to basically plant malwares. So basically, this is an email attempt from the cyber criminals that poses to be to look like a legitimate email from a legitimate source. Like say, for example, your bank, they're posing as your bank, emailing you saying, "Hey, we need access to your account because there was a new update that is being rolled out. You just need to log into this link." So basically, that's just one example of phishing attempt that is being done by cyber criminals. Well, once you click on that link and put in your password, it is good to say that your data has already been given over to the hackers, and they'll be able to use that data to log into your account and steal your data from there. Next up would be spear phishing. Now, spear phishing is a more complicated or sophisticated form of phishing attack. Basically, spear phishing is what you call this? They specifically target specific users for this one, mainly system administrators or executives of a company. So normally for spear phishing, they study the behavior of the individual, like their social media or what they're using, what type of products they're using online, and they try to specialize or categorize the email, the type of phishing email that will be sent to these particular users, to make sure that they click on the link or on the attachment that is attached there, to make sure that the malware or the whatever software is attached that gets installed on the computer of the individual. Next up is man in the middle. Basically, man in the middle is where someone gets in between the communication of two parties. Let's say, for example, I am communicating with my bank via email, and I didn't know that they were able their email system is basically compromised, and someone else is replying on their behalf. So basically, someone not connected to the bank is replying to my emails, stating inquiries. So they can basically send phishing emails that would look legitimate to me because they're basically intercepting my communication with the bank. Next up is denial of service. This basically mostly happens to government websites or company websites. This is basically flooding the network or the system with multiple traffic or massive traffic, like pinging the servers or those things, to make sure that a legitimate request gets gets delayed or basically not served during, let's say, for example, you want to log into to the website of SSS or Pag-ibig, and they suffer a denial of service attack or DDoS. You won't be able to log in because the website will not load. So that's an example of denial of service. Next up is SQL injection. Now, SQL injection, this is basically a cyber criminal injecting basically a query from the client end user facing website to be able to get data within the database. Normally, this happens if we design the database not securely. Let's say, for example, the super user of the database is not properly set up. They would be able to inject a series of scripts within the end user facing website to be able to get data. So normally, from my research, the common victim of SQL injection is a PHP, especially if they are not able to configure the super user or the root user of the database for this one. Then zero-day exploit. Now this is basically a vulnerability that has been announced to the public. Let's say, for example, there's a vulnerability in the Windows 10 OS that was identified by Microsoft themselves. They announce it to the public so that the public is aware that there's a vulnerability in their OS. And basically, it allows the cyber criminals to exploit this vulnerability until it is patched by the manufacturer of the software. So let's say, for example, Microsoft, until they patch the particular vulnerability, it is basically a free for all for cyber criminals to exploit it for users that are not aware of the vulnerability exploit that is currently on their system. So for zero-day exploit, the most common way to prevent this is to keep your systems updated and secure. Now, advanced persistent threats. Now, this is particularly like man in the middle, but more of a what you call this? The hacker or the cyber criminal that gets into the system lays low. They do not do anything. Once they are in the system, they just remain hidden. They read all the files. They check all the data. They skim through all everything that they can without touching anything until they see an opportunity to basically cause the most damage, either most damage or the most profit, basically. One example I have for this one would be, if anyone is aware of Linus Tech Tips, there was one event with Linus Sebastian, the owner of Linus Tech Tips, that he was transacting with his bank for a not exactly a bank but a partner for their business. Basically, he was not aware that the email system of the company that he was transacting to was compromised. So they were sending emails back and forth with that transaction until they agreed to send a wire transfer of the money. Only then, after the transfer of the money, was the company made aware that there was someone else in their system that was transacting with Linus. So basically, he lost about $60,000, I believe, but he was able to get it back. So that's just one example of advanced persistent threats. Now, for this one, this is quite hard to identify on set because basically the hackers or the cyber criminals just lay low. You don't know that they are there. They just they're just waiting. So for this one, the only way basically of what I can see to prevent this is to do constant audits, security audits of logins and accesses, and vulnerability audits on your organization systems. And if you're basically a individual, for this one, you just basically do a quick virus scan, make sure that your system is clean. But other than that, there's pretty not much you can do because yeah. Now, uh, last second is ransomware. This is particularly not exactly new, but one of the most damaging malware attacks that has risen in the recent years. Basically, what a ransomware does is once it infects your computer, it encrypts everything inside it. You are not able to access anything until you pay the ransom of the hacker. Normally, they ask for Bitcoin as payment because I've encountered this before with my previous jobs, and there's almost nothing you can do to unlock the files. So it's encrypted heavily. I believe they're using a 256 hash rate for the encryption, so it's pretty hard to brute force unlock. So yeah, so be careful with ransomware, guys. It's no joke. So always keep a backup of your important files for this one. Because basically, once it hits your system, doing a system restore doesn't exactly fixes the problem because everything is locked up. Lastly, would be DNS attack. This is basically the domain name system of a website. So once a cyber criminal gains access to either your router or your computer, they would be able to do redirection of a website. So let's say, for example, instead of when you try, let's say, for example, you go to your bank, instead of it going to bpi.com, it might direct you to something else that looks like bpi.com, so that you will be unaware that you're inputting your bank details to the website. So that's just an example for a DNS attack. There are more of this, but mostly they just redirect you to a compromised website. Right. So with all this cyber threats that we have, the most common practices that we can do as individuals to basically protect ourselves from cyber threats is one, make sure our systems are clean via virus scan. Make sure that we do not open up what you call this websites that are not trusted. If for example a website doesn't have an S and then HTTP, it's just HTTP, be wary because most of the websites now use HTTPS for the websites. And when you receive an email from unknown sources, do not click on any attachments to it so that you don't fall to phishing attacks. And once if you are transacting, if you are doing business and you're transacting with someone, before you and they ask for money, before you send the money, always make sure to call your contact. Make sure that hey, this I received the account number. Can I verify this is the correct one? Those things. So basically, do your due diligence for protecting yourself from cyber attacks. Because basically, the internet is an open area. It's basically a public space. And once you're connected to the internet, you're opening yourself to the public, and you're opening yourself to possible attacks from cyber criminals. Now, as a system implementer, as a system designer, we can design our systems to be more secure when we are aware of cyber threats that are happening outside. So, but the most common, like I said, the most common entry point would be our end users. So we need to educate the end users on how to protect themselves from cyber attacks.
I wanted to update you guys on.
So that would be all. Thank you.
See my face.
Okay, sir, thank you very much. No, of course, again, sabi nga ni sir, napakalawak ng cybersecurity, no? So, but cybersecurity is a practice, no? So again, cybersecurity has become a central issue, no, as digital technologies play a bigger role in everyone's lives, no. As I mentioned earlier, no, it is this will be the practice of protecting networks, devices, and data from damages, no, or loss or unauthorized access. Just a physical security protects buildings and the people in them from various physical threats. Cybersecurity safeguards digital technologies and their users from digital dangers. No, again, no, it's very broad, no, covering many different disciplines, no, actions, threats, and ideas. No, however, these parts, no, come back to the same idea, no, protecting people's digital lives and assets. No, things like digital currency, data, and access to some computers are valuable targets for criminals. So protecting them is crucial, no. And think of how many different things today use digital technologies and data. It's massive category, so there are various types of cybersecurity too. And of course, we have the network security, no, wherein it protects computer networks, no, like work, home Wi-Fi or business networks from threats. Now, we have also an application security, which ensure programs and apps, no, repel hackers and keep users' data private. We have cloud security, no, focuses on the cloud, where users and businesses are store data and run apps online using remote data centers. We have information security, which focuses on keeping sensitive data safe and private. And of course, endpoint security. So it secures devices like computers, phones, or internet for Internet of Things, no, gadgets, to ensure they don't become a way to get into other devices or data on the network. And these cybersecurity examples are far from the only types, but there's some of the biggest. Now, as the field grows, many smaller, more specialized subcategories emerge. And all these smaller considerations combine to create an organization's overall cybersecurity. Of course, no, I will need to accept the fact that cybersecurity is vital because digital assets are valuable and vulnerable. So with so much of daily life online, from bank account access to names and addresses, cybercrime can make lots of money and cause untold damage. No? Cybersecurity is important because of how common cybercrime is. No? And I think way back 2019, no, 32% of businesses identified cyber attacks, no, or other security breaches. And that doesn't account for those who were infiltrated without realizing it. That figure has also only increased. Big corporations with lots of valuable data aren't the only targets either, because security breaches happen to small businesses, to and even to random individuals. Cybersecurity is so important because everyone could be a victim, no? So, and we have, of course, the common cybersecurity threats to manage, no? Number one, of course, the malware, no, phishing, insider threats, no, man-in-the-middle attacks, and botnets, no? And we need to consider, of course, the top best practices for cybersecurity, no? So cyber crime isn't just a broad category, as I mentioned, no, but a growing one, no? That these threats cost the world, no, 6 trillion in 2021, and experts say the figure will rise by 15% annually for the next 5 years. So amid these rising threats, cybersecurity best practices become all the more important. Okay, so some cybersecurity practices for business, employees, and consumer. Number one, use anti-malware software. No, one of the most important cybersecurity best practices is to install anti-malware software. No, so the market is full of antivirus programs and services that can help people with any budget. Best of all, these programs automate malware detection and prevention, so you don't have to be an expert to stay safe. So many cybersecurity threats start as malware. So this software can stop various attacks, and they also update regularly, which helps them stay on top of new attack methods. So considering how easy these are to use and how crucial they are, and there's no reason to avoid them. Number two, of course, it is always advised actually to use a strong password, no? Use strong or varied passwords, because another crucial cybersecurity step is to use a strong password. Most hacking related data breaches stem from weak password, which are easy to avoid, no? Cracking a 12-character password takes 62 trillion times longer than a 6-character one, no? So it is always advisable for you to have at least 8 characters and above, because password should be long and contain numbers, symbols, and varying letters cases. It's also important to avoid using the same one for multiple accounts. So let's say, for example, if you have a BDO account, no, BPI account, so that you have different passwords, no? Even in your social media, in your Yahoo or Gmail account, no. So as that lets a hacker into more places with one breach password, changing them every few months can also minimize this. Another one is enable multi-factor authentication. No? Sometimes a strong password isn't enough. That's why enabling multi-factor authentication is another essential cybersecurity best practices for employees and general users. No, MFA or yung multi-factor authentication is a quick to set up, easy to use, and can stop nearly all attacks according to some expert. No, MFA adds another step to the login process. No, most often a one-time code sent to a user's phones, and some MFA options are more advanced, like of course yung common, no, facial recognition services or the fingerprint scanners. No, while these features may not see as much use as they should, they are available on most internet services right now, no, especially this 2022. Another is verify before trusting. No, it is important to verify security since cybersecurity threats often don't seem suspicious at first glance. No, before clicking a link or responding to an email, inspect it more carefully. It could be a trap, no, if it contains spelling errors, unusual language, and it is strangely used, urgent, or seems off. No, the same principles or the same principle applies to internet networks, no, devices and application. Never trust public Wi-Fi because anyone could use it to perform MITM attacks. And similarly, always check to make sure a program's developer is trustworthy before downloading and installing it. Companies should apply this to business partners too. Another important thing, of course, update frequently, no, because cybersecurity is a dynamic field. Criminals are always coming up with new ways to attack targets, and cybersecurity tools adapt in response. No? And otherwise, no, that means it's crucial to update all software regularly. Users could be vulnerable to a weak point that app developers have already patched. No? Some of the most infamous cybersecurity breach example had happened because of outdated software. No? As far as I remember, no, in 2019, no, United Nations tried to hide a data breach that used a vulnerability a current software update would have patched. No, and this is critically a critical cybersecurity best practice for business, which may be bigger targets. No, update frequently. Encrypt where possible, no? One more technical cybersecurity step is to encrypt sensitive data, because encryption makes information unreadable to anyone apart from its intended audience by scrambling it and giving unauthorized users a key to unscramble it. It doesn't stop data breach, but it makes them less impactful. No, if a cyber criminal can read or understand data, it's useless to them, making someone a less enticing target. It also ensures that any sensitive information that leaks will stay private. Using multiple encryption types such as end-to-end and at-risk encryption keeps information extra safe. Another, of course, is the segment networks. No? An important security best practice for businesses is to segment their networks. Now, this involves running devices and storing data on different networks to ensure a breach in one area can provide access to everything else. And this step is especially critical for large IoT networks. Now, this mostly applies to organizations, but individual users can use this step too. No, running a smartphone or a running a smart home devices only a different network than work or home computers is a good idea. That way, a smart TV, which is easier to hack into, doesn't become a doorway to more sensitive data. Of course, you need also to create backup of sensitive files. No, it is crucial, no, to back up any sensitive data or programs. This won't prevent a cyber attacks, but it will minimize the damage, because stolen data or down system aren't as freezing if you have extra copies you can use. No, with cybersecurity as rampant as it is, it's unsafe to assume someone will never be the target of successful breach. No, more than half of all consumers have been the victim of cybercrime. Since no defense is perfect, ensuring a hack won't be crippling is essential. Okay, another is stay informed and tell others. No, despite how massive a problem cybercrime is, many people don't know cybersecurity best practices. Many simple steps can be effective. It's just a matter of knowing what risks are out there and what to do about them. Consequently, staying informed is half the battle. No, the step is important. The step is an important cybersecurity best practice for employee specialists. No, employees especially. No, businesses should train all workers about things like strong password management and how to spot a phishing attempt. No, holding these meetings regularly can help companies stay on top of emerging threats and remain safe despite a changing landscape. And another best practice is review security steps regularly. Every user and company should understand that today's best practices may not work tomorrow. So cybersecurity is a continually evolving field. So it's important to review defenses to ensure they're still reliable. Without regular reviews, people could be vulnerable and not realize it. Because businesses can perform penetration testing where a cybersecurity expert tries to break into their systems to reveal their weak points. The consumer can read up on the latest cybersecurity news to see what new steps they may need to take. And the worst thing you can be is complacent. No? Again, cybersecurity is essential for everyone. Okay, cybersecurity is important. It's easy to see why it's in such high demand. And this can be a complicated topic, but it's essential. No, everyone from the world's most powerful CEOs to casual Twitter users or Facebook users should understand the importance of cybersecurity. This cybersecurity example are just a sampling of the threats and defense step out here today. Okay, understanding this basic is the first step to staying safe in today's digital world. Okay, again, some best practices. No? Number one, of course, use anti-malware software. Use strong varied passwords. Enable multi-factor authentication. verify before trusting, update frequently. No, you need to update frequently. Encrypt where possible, segment networks, create backups of sensitive files, stay informed and tell others, and review security steps regularly. So I think that's it for cybersecurity discussion.